Hi, everyone. This is a conversation with myself and Kitty. Hi, Kitty. Thanks for coming along.
Hi, of course.
We were just talking about the difference of some QHHT practitioners' approaches to life. And I was just about to start talking to Kitty about a level 3 practitioner urging people desperately to get inoculated because she's been getting these sessions where, bless her for being confused, where she's been asking the subconscious, how's the body going to be doing in the future for the clients? And the subconscious has said, oh, well, the body's not, it's not looking good for the body. And so the practitioner has jumped into fear and gone, well, what's happening to the body? Tell me what's the issues. And the subconscious will talk about the death of the body and the erosion of the body. And it's confusing to me why the practitioner isn't getting the bigger information about, well, we're shifting bodies. It's kind of an obvious thing from my perspective of understanding that, but the practitioner is not open to being able to hear bigger information. So that all her sessions seem to be about the body really collapsing and they're having massive problems. And this practitioner is taking the position that this is because of the virus. While we survive the virus, it does really bad things, supposedly, in this practitioner's mindset and perspective, that down the track for her clients, they're having to struggle really intensively with body issues, the shutting down of the body, and that the lifespan's not very long. And I'm not too sure why the subconscious is kind of saying, well, this is the impact of current situations. I'm wondering if, I haven't listened to any of their sessions, nor do I have time to listen to anyone else's sessions. But anyway, there you go. There's interesting perspectives of different information, but remember, regardless of what side of the fence you are with this current health situation, run from fear. Find your neutral, find what sits right for you, and empower yourself with that decision. Do not let anyone coerce you into not or doing it. You must find your neutral and find out what is the best for you. And I am not promoting or endorsing any option. It's none of my bloody business what you guys do with your bodies. Of course, I'm going to use peer pressure and say, love your bodies, love yourself, and do all those fantastic things, as I always do and always want for all of you. But in terms of your choices that you do with your body, none of my business. And I will support and love you regardless, as long as you're doing jazz hands and being in the best joy.
I agree. I agree with as far as any medication goes, I would say the exact same thing. And really just ask yourself what's right and be honest about what's right, not make a decision based on fear or being influenced.
Well, we so think that we're stupid because we haven't got medical degrees, that we don't know our bodies. And so we blindly accept, professional information because we want to respect, and we should be able to respect professionals. I would love to live in a world where we can respect individuals and professionals that have done the best research of all and know my body more than me and can tell me with certainty what is impacting me. And, they may have said that I had a sinus infection the other day, but I personally know that it was releasing the pressure I placed on myself, which then looked like, the releasing of a sinus boogies.
Yeah, I have my own releasing going on as well. So I totally understand.
Well, share with us whatever you feel comfortable with. It's not a Dear Diary kind of, like scrutinize your life and your past choices so we can judge you. It's about share with us your medical journey, because I know that this really resonated with a lot of people, and this made them just simply fall in love with you and your journey. So share with us.
The medical part. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, basically, when I was an early adult, but really after I had my son is when things took a turn. And so I definitely was feeling really sick all the time. And I had really bad endometriosis after Vincent. And so that was a whole mess, and they ended up taking out everything. But there's still a lot of something going on inside that's like basically like dark. Something dark is like growing in there and making webs and stuff. Okay, this is getting gross. I'm sorry. But anyway, moving forward, then most recently, the serious health thing was that I was told I had to get my gallbladder removed because I was having this really, really intense chest pain. But mind you, I was on a lot of different medications at that point because basically I kept going to the doctor and just trying to get answers for why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I was desperate. I was so desperate to get just any kind of answer to why I felt so sick all the time. And, they told me I had autoimmune disease and fibromyalgia and all kinds of big worded things that don't have cures. Nothing ever could be cured that they would say that I had, which is interesting because that way nothing, and also these things don't show up on blood tests or anything tangible for me to give my, correlate that diagnosis. Anyhow, so I was very much in the medical system and very much believed what they told me. And I would spend so much of my time Googling the things they said I had. And then I would be so convinced I had it and it would get worse. And, that whole rabbit hole. So I was definitely a case for, being tricked by the doctors. But because so I had the surgery, I found out in the session what happened during that surgery, mind blown, changed my whole aspect, my whole point of view. And I've been super healthy ever since that happened. After the walk-in, I literally stopped every medication one by one myself, against all the doctor's orders. I was different. It was like the veil had been lifted, in a sense. I could see through everything. I wasn't afraid to be hurt anymore by what I saw. I needed to see it. So
what we learned is that you were a Palladian guided person, and then that the Pleiadian soul essence of you went back to source on the 21st of December, and then the Arcturian part of you came in to take over and be boss lady.
yes. Yes.
So when we use the analogy of we're multidimensional beings, and we are the smallest little Russian doll that there is, and that is the third dimensional version of us. And then the next step up is the fifth to the seventh dimension, which is the Palladians. And then the seventh to ninth dimension is the Arcturians, full kitty. And so it was so hard work, the third dimension, for this Palladian, that it decided it needed to go back to source. When you came out of that session, and we stopped recording, you asked me, what was the deal with that date? Because you were really surprised and confused that they kept saying, like, you keep getting the senses that this was supposed to not be like this anymore. The time, it was time. And you had no understanding, because if you haven't had had one of these sessions before, you don't actually understand that when you experience these sessions, there's so much senses of everything else happening that the words are just like the icing on the cake from everything else you're experiencing along with it. And there's the range of emotions that you feel, and there's, yeah, it's a very packed experience. So you came out of the session and was like, what was the deal with the time? You had no, is that right? Like, I'm not going to speak for you, so tell me, you came out of the session and you were questioning.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I was like, okay, what is up with, what do they mean it's supposed to happen? Why are they saying what's supposed to happen and on that date? And because I mean, I was so sick before this happened. And then, you know, the whole month of December, I was sick. And the first like month after that, I was coming off of all the meds they put me on and like trying to acclimate to this like new energy. So I had not heard any of the previous sessions up until like 2 or 3 months ago when I started listening. So I was totally clueless as to why this date was important. What were they talking about? Something was going to happen. And so, yeah, then you told me that it was supposed to be the shift, that's the date they gave you for the shift.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have found these sessions just recently. And so when they do hear, the shift, they were told the December last year, well, they got one date wrong, so they're full of shit, you know, and that's cool. We're full of shit. I don't care. But for Kitty, you did not realize the link from the date that you were actually in the hospital, because you were admitted in because you were having heart palpitations. Is that right?
Yeah, I was having really bad chest pain, heart palpitations. Like I felt like I was exploding from the inside. I've never, and I was in the emergency room and then they admitted me. So I was not expecting actually to go in at that time. I was supposed to have my gallbladder out, but this became like an emergency situation. And then that surgery went wrong. And so I ended up being back and forth, but that's another story. So yeah.
Epic. And you just knew that it was such a strange event, the whole situation. And because you have then now made new choices, you are detoxifying your body from different medications that you were on. You almost feel like you were a different person. You kind of said that you know, that you were like, whoa, like, I don't know about how everyone else processes this, but I feel like from my awakening or from this year, something within me has changed so much. And that is the hardest thing about being awoken and being upgraded, is that you know, our old selves that used to be, I'll speak for myself. The old 3D version of Joe, who was very reacting to the 3D. You know, I was you know, always reacting to emotions and really holding on to a lot of, I guess you could say, drama, worry, and fear, and a whole lot of judgmental opinions about what people were doing to me, and you know, all that really self-absorbed stuff when you haven't touched your inner work. And so when we start becoming more awoke and aware and understand this information, it's like we have a sense of inner peace and calm, even though we understand what they keep telling us in sessions sounds very scary. What I wanted to say is the thought of continuing on in this world in 3D as it is very scary. That is probably more terrifying, because it doesn't seem from this perspective that anything's going to change. We hear all the time that things are going to change, regardless of whether it's our sessions or, you know, other truthers or whatever. There always seems to be this hope and promise of change. None of it really, I mean, maybe I'm just biased, but from my understanding from the sessions and what's happening, what we're going to be experiencing that feels like it's the best outcome and the true change that we all need for everybody, even though we don't like change and we're very routine-based beings, the 3D world as it currently stands is terrifying. You know, when you start realizing how so many people are still being manipulated and controlled and a whole lot of that sort of stuff. So anyway, I totally got off topic, but so then you realize you're a more fancier version of yourself. And we experienced, you know, we explored that, and was really cool to hear that your Palladian version of self, that soul essence, is having a spa treatment with Source, which sounds fantastic, and will merge in with you in your crystalline body, in your come in, and I'm wondering now, so does Kitty have two soul essences within her fine, fancy, sparkly body on the new earth, the Arcturian version and the Palladian version? And do we just have one? We could have many. It's very, very, very interesting.
Yes, I feel the same way about it. When I found that out, it was so mind-bending to think a part of me left, but at the same time it made so much sense because I feel it gone. But there's also this other side that it, you know, yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how we're going to meet there and how that works too. I'm not sure. I keep going back and forth on whether it's like just an aspect of the same or if they're two different ones.
So what I view, how I, you know, when I sort of say we're a multidimensional being, so if we just be aware of our bodies and say that our physical bodies right now is the sum totality of us, and that we're just one step down from Source. So, you know, we've removed ourselves from Source consciously to have a physical experience, and we're looking at our fingers and our toes and our arms and legs, knowing that all of us is contained. So let's just think of, let's just say, just for shits and giggles, that your little pinky finger is your Palladian soul essence. Now, while your little pinky finger is attached to your hand and then your arm and then your whole body, it's still its own little label. It's got its own little cute nail. It's got some bends to it. It's got some, you know, personality. It can do its own little jazz hand if it wants to, you know, but it's still the whole part of us. Well, it's all one. And then if you want to jump over to the next, you know, your ring finger, what if that was the version of your fancy Arcturian self that is, you know, deliciously humble, but also, you know, an important gift to humanity and likes to play with Jesus as a child. Bless it. That was so amazingly interesting. Anyway, I'm totally, but you can see that you can't mish them together. Like, you know, they're still independent little fingers that say, no, I am me. I'm totally happy being the short one. And the Arcturian is like, well, I love being, you know, taller than the little finger, but I'm not quite as tall as the middle finger. And the middle finger is like, ha ha ha, I'm the highest self of you all, bitches. And then, you know, like, you just don't quite know, but it's still the same hand, you know, and it's still attached to us, even though we feel no difference. But then, but we can feel, like, we can squish each of them individually, can feel them, sense them, know that they've all done different things. That time when we grabbed that hot cup of coffee, it burnt one finger, not all fingers. So they've had different experiences, and, you know, you can understand that, but it's all very intriguing. I'm not going to claim that I understand all how it works. I do know that we have partial walk-in, walk-out situations, and I'm glad. I'm also really sad that Palladian version of yourself just got swallowed up with the density of this planet, because I know it did come with great intentions. And I know that a lot of light workers and volunteers have come with the very, very best intentions to help humanity and be focused and on track. But it is such a challenging experience, that we understand and we can have great compassion for those who have tried their best, but have what they would be considering a failure. I can't even say it because it's not even a failure. Oh, there it is.
No, totally. Totally. So I agree with you. And I think that what you just said to me totally like gave me an epiphany. It was the burned finger. It was the burned finger. And the reason why is because that was the essence that also met my son. And he was in a different form then. And so having that wounded part of me come here in a way with him as in a contract to face that fear, that I think is really what the real thing that that I couldn't recover from, is like just that side of me. It got heartbroken, you know, in a way, because I couldn't really see the higher side of it. I was so stuck in the emotions, and like I felt like just like I didn't want to see, you know, everything that I was seeing and feeling, and it ate away at me, the guilt. And I know that that part of me, it did the best that it could. And I think hearing my subconscious, you know, tell me that, that really healed me in a profound way.
I think everyone can be really compassionate about being an empath and being really sensitive to energy, and then having a son that you love with unconditional love, who has got the density and the energy of a reptilian starseed, who wants to own that that DNA, who wants to embrace that I don't even know what the word is, culture, perspective, that reality, that density, that I don't want to say darkness, but it, you know, and like you could tell immediately that there was something going on for him, which, I mean, can we say he was having the best joy of his life because it was his choices? He wanted to live here now with that energy, embracing that energy and accepting himself, and almost wanting you to accept him for being what you knew was a very darker way of life. Is that even politely how I can express that?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That's exactly, it's the domination, manipulation, lying, violent side.
And I guess if you know you had talked to children's psychologists or your family doctor, they would have said what labels to understand his way of life.
Oh, we did that. Yeah, you're exactly right. And I, for myself, I would accept more direction from doctors than I will for him, because you know how it is as a mom, you're way more discerning when it comes to what you'll put in your kids and what you'll expose them to. So I did take him to doctors, and he was diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and conduct disorder. And you know, I kind of just took that into consideration, and almost just like, okay, well, this is what they see. But I knew that, I mean, the labels, they just don't really fit, because he's way too intelligent and calculating to be autistic. Or I mean, not to say that they're not. Oh, I just said that wrong. I mean, like, just he's super not fitting into those molds.
And we know when you get a label, you try to squeeze into it to make it match. because, you know, we own the labels with almost pride, like, oh, so a professional has said I'm this label, so I'm going to Google the crap out of that label and make sure that I fit all the categories, because the professionals aren't wrong. I'm wrong with understanding who the hell I am and why I'm here on this planet right now. So I will mish myself in. And you're so right. And this is so important for people to hear. I'm going to take it as a twist here. People blindly take crap for themselves. But when we have a responsibility of children, we seem to suddenly care about what's on the box. And we want to figure out what crazy chemicals are in this food that looks like it's synthetic and obviously full of sugar, and our children are begging for it, which is always a giveaway that it's probably the most toxic thing for their little systems to cope with. But, you know, we take that responsibility of trying not to poison our children, you know, most of the time. My children are not aversions to McDonald's. We've gone there. And, you know, that's it. Judge me, say goodbye to your respect for me. That's okay. I don't care. Anyway, I'm just being honest. Okay. I didn't know better. Anyway, so what Kitty has said is super important to help awaken humanity. Everyone will be peer pressured into taking the immunization, but it's really made people stop quite firmly when they were saying now, and now the kids have to do it, because previously it was kids are really safe, the numbers are super small, they're somehow superheroes. It's because they've had all their other inoculations that they are super healthy. And so the children have never really been a factor into it, right? But now, as we are being forced awake with violent shaking, they've brought in the kids. And this is when I have noticed people who have really appreciated being vaccinated, and they feel really empowered, and they know they've made the right decisions for them, and they're very proud of their status. Now, suddenly, they're questioning why the children, and then they're realizing, hang on a minute, and it's like this double standard. You know, they blindly follow their what the adults are doing, because that's cool apparently to be peer pressured into that. And, you know, again, no judgment, guys, if I'm sounding like I am judging, but it is making my friends and the people that I am stalking social media, they're starting to stop and think, because the narrative has changed. Because of course we always think about our children really first before we think about ourselves. More mostly can speak for myself. Anyway, fantasy world, when all of my laundry is folded, yeah, no. Sorry. So I just felt that there was a really good nugget for people to understand what is going on, how it is to awaken more of humanity. Anyway, so yes, you noticed straight away, really, that your son had a different energy about him, even though you probably would have not even been able to admit that to yourself. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, from the time I was pregnant, I felt something was wrong in a way. It was just, I just felt so sick and almost a feeling of dread. But yeah, and I could barely come to term with him. I was just begging the doctors, like, please, can we just take him out now? I'm sure it must be fine. Like, I can't take anymore. And then when he was even as a baby, you know, he was just so angry, and he did not like for me to touch him, and he would only, like, I mean, just everything was a battle of control from day one. I mean, everything. And I know everyone probably is thinking, oh yeah, that's every kid, but I mean, everything was a battle. And it's like, it was all a battle of control. It was just this since day one. And I'm actually pretty submissive person. So it was a huge challenge for me to like step up as to dominate that type of energy. It was always a challenge. It's still a challenge to try and feel bigger, because that's just not the way that I come across and isn't my nature at all. So it's always been basically my complete opposite. And it's always been a battle, and I always just fight that battle with love. It's my best weapon. It's what I can throw at him. And no matter how hard it is on me, if I feel like it's good for him and it's going to teach him how to be a good, fair, honest person, I'll do it. And so I think that's why I got picked for this role is, I know that I come across as meek and everything, but at the same time, the amount of love that I have to give is immense. And I will not let people get away from my love. I will chase you down and I will love you.
I love that threat. Yes, please. Lots. And it's, that's fantastic because, I feel like you are on a bigger journey of profoundly self-love and a self-acceptance. And, that frequent urination was releasing self-doubt. Was that what I recall?
Yeah. The percentage of doubt is getting less.
We'd gone to the bathroom prior to the session, and then, it's interesting how the body wants to release, and a lot of people question, what's wrong with my bladder? Because, I'm drinking 2 liters a day, but I am weeing a small pool of, it seems disproportionate, and that is great news, but don't go into fear and worry. And I know lots of people listening who have had these big time periods in their lives where they just felt like they were frequently going wheeze and thinking, God, I can't remember the last time I was doing this. Like it was like when I was pregnant, it's like that frequently. And instead of thinking it's a bladder infection, embrace it as being a release it all, my friends. Because, when you're listening to these sessions and you've done some sound healing sessions where you've listened to what we have also done, they are profound. It sounds really obnoxious, me like promoting these sessions, but I'm not lying because I've heard so many different people saying the same things about how they have energetically profoundly upgraded, and they can only put it down to these sessions being the only change, and they are feeling it within them. And like, why would people lie? You know yourselves when you're listening how you have felt during your journey with this. I do wish that some people listening to these sessions were able to maintain this higher frequency of vibration throughout their day and not just have to wait for the next session to boost them up. If you are needing these sessions to boost you up energetically, there is work, my friends, to continually help you get there. And it is your choices that are making you go a little bit down in density. So when you're listening to these sessions, you're open-hearted and open-minded to the frequency energy that has been provided, which is great. And then when you stop listening, the little worry devil that comes into your mind that starts telling you all the things that you're not good enough about, and that wants to beat you up a bit, and then all of a sudden the worries of the world will come crashing down on your shoulders, and then you can't wait to listen to the next session and hope that, hey guys, great news, the shift's cancelled, everything's going to be fantastic, the guy has decided to heal herself and you're all going to be billionaires tomorrow. Hugs and kisses. I'm going now. My job's done. Sorry.
No, I agree. It's definitely a huge message that you just sent, in that no matter what you're using to boost yourself or to get that, just that moment of high vibration, or that moment of relief where you're not thinking about all that, that is a really good sign that you need to spend some time with yourself without distraction.
You can be the high vibrational being you've always been addicted to searching for.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe in you all. You just have to believe in yourselves, and then focus on working on that. Have the attitude you are that big being, rocking it out, being a gift to humanity, and making that farmer proud. What I did want to say is, when we're doing this growth and we stop reacting in the old ways that we used to with the 3D knee jerk, the one thing that we notice is that everyone now starts looking at us quite differently. And when we gain more silent inner peace and don't react to those normal conversations that we would react to with our friends and family, the very first thing that they think is that instead of, oh, look at her, she's growing some inner peace, good on her, they read our inner peace and our different demeanor as, holy shit, their internal rage is so intensive, they're not even reacting anymore, they're beyond reacting now, they're in this extra silent anger, rage. They will not see the inner peace for what it is. And so when they're used to just having these bumps and grinds and conversation and triggering the crap out of each other, when you're not triggering them anymore because you've got this internal peace where you're observing the conversation, this makes them almost hysterically uncomfortable, because obviously you're not reacting, so you're beyond even that next stage of pure rage. And so then they start getting really, really scared, and they react even more, like ridiculously more. And for us, when we're growing, it's like, oh, you're really testing my inner peace, because you're just, you're emphasizing your normal way of how you would trigger me. And then that's a gift, because you realize, whoa, I used to bite into this so much and be going to town with that conflict, which then gives us more confidence that we can have that inner peace and see things from a bigger perspective, which then of course makes them realize, you've changed, man, you've changed, and it's not good. And they are freaking out and not comfortable with this change. And I think this is what you're expressing this year, is that people are responding to you differently because you're different, but it doesn't come across as like, hey, you look beautiful with that inner peace. It's more like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Joe. Like, it really is. I'm so different than I was before. Just basically, things that I like, things that I watch, just even artistic abilities are different. I just feel so different than I did before. And yeah, so it makes it pretty hard to continue relationships that I had with people before, because I just can't resonate with them. I just can't. And a lot of them, they'll either have the reaction like you just explained, or they'll think I don't care. Like, well, why don't you even care? Why don't you even care how horrible this is for me? I do. I really care. I just don't care the same way.
It's too dense. The dramas of, it's what we experienced when people were really stuck in the dramas of the crimes against humanity and could never see the reason behind it or the purpose behind it. All they could see and buy into was the trauma of it and the horrificness of it. Yes, it is horrific. But when you understand the life purposes of it, it's super, you can find peace with it. As disturbing as it is, you can find peace with it. But those people who don't want to find peace with it, that is them and their inner work screaming at them. So what I wanted to say to you, Kitty, was most volunteers come in with contracts to say, no children, thank you, with much love. We'll adopt some fur babies and, we will live out our mummy fantasies that way. And, and that is all fine. And then our bloody life contracts change. And I say that with much love and appreciation to my children, who I do adore, and wish that I could be a better clothes folder. But, regardless of my faults as, a mother, the reality is most volunteers needed to be here on purpose to focus on our mission. And when you buy into the new contract of being a mummy, and then our worlds get very small to completely help this one child or several children survive this world, we're very sensitive to it, but we shut down our focus because it's us against the world to protect our offspring. And I feel that your contract, I would be curious to ask your subconscious next time, was she supposed to always have a child, or was this an extra bonus for her life experience here? Remembering we are supposed to all come together as all different collectives to still love the shit out of each other, regardless of our behaviors, regardless of whatever we want to see the world in. We still have to have enough energy that is overflowing from us loving ourselves to be able to wash them and support them and nurture them. And this is what the reptilian star seeds wanted from us light workers, to love them just as much as we love humanity. And this will help them heal as a collective. This will help them want to expand consciously. There is so many layers to this. And when we all leave here and all our experiences go back to our collectives, the relationship that Kitty has had with her son will be reflected back, that, he gave her the best and all the reasons why she should just walk away and shut her heart. And the reality is she kept going and going and going, but it corroded her own belief systems of herself. She thought that it was all her not understanding her son. She thought it was all her that couldn't accept and understand and feel at ease with this world. And she thought that she was the problem. And we all know she's the solution. But unfortunately, during that time, her self-doubt corroded. And, bless that Palladian little finger of hers that's having some healing time with Source, because it came here for great purpose. So when I was exploring your session with you, it sounded like you were just this consciousness floating around over this planet, finding the darkness and like loving the crap out of it. And then you got this calling that your parents needed a little pure essence to come in and be a bundle of joy. And it was really interesting. It was kind of like, I'm just hanging out in the other dimension, just doing my job for humanity. And, oh, you want a baby? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it felt. It felt like, what's so interesting is that felt very natural. Like I definitely have watched Earth a lot. So being in that perspective, it just felt really good and really natural. And yeah, I found that really interesting too, Joe. I mean, is that how we all come into our body, or was that like, did I even come in before I was born, or did I come in to a little girl who was already existing? Like that's what I'm wondering.
Ooh, next session questions. Very interesting. Well, it does seem from when I have done sessions where the person is writing their life contracts with their guides, and they see themselves in a room, or they see themselves having a meeting as such, and it is discussing their life contracts. And then the next kind of scene is them going through like a tunnel or something, and then they're like, oh, I think I've just been born. Like, like it is a really interesting experience for them to to feel like they've just been born, and to sense this is really healing for a lot who have disconnected from their parents, seeing the energy of the people in the room of their birth and realizing, you know, when they've been held by their father for the very first time, or when they've been held by their mother, and it's this pure joy and appreciation and this overwhelming love that the parents have for the children. It's a really special thing for people to experience in sessions, especially when their parents no longer are alive, that they can't talk to. And like, oh, I love these sessions because there's just so much we can explore and heal and expand on. So it is incredibly interesting. Okay, and so then you got to experience the new earth. And were you surprised it wasn't just a mindset?
Right? No, it was not. Oh no, it looks totally different than Earth. I mean, you know, you're on another planet the second you see it. But what was so weird too, Joe, is like how I was getting around. Like I was like, I think that it was a Merkaba. What do you think? Like whenever I was talking about going to New Earth and I said it was a ship, but it's part of me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you arrived on this earth with the Merkaba and was hanging out. Then you chose to be born or have a walk-in experience. I'm not too sure. We could explore. And then, no, I felt like you were born. I felt like you did go through that connection process. And then anyway, so
Yeah.
You arriving to New Earth, it did seem like you didn't go on one of the big ships. You somehow zoomed ahead, and then you were hanging out. I don't think you use a Merkaba on the New Earth as such when you're there. I feel like you kind of like float around and sort of like, because you said you could just pop around and go any places, you can just do that.
Yeah, I agree. I was just when it surprised me is I for some reason thought I was going to be on a ship and then arrive that way. So to find out that I'm going to be one of the first waivers, the greeters, that was so cool. And that I honestly couldn't ask for a better role. Like, wow, that for me personally, seeing and feeling like other people's joy is the ultimate for me. It's just, there's nothing better. So that was really cool finding out my role. And yeah, the traveling there, it was like more like that other session that you did, like a cloud roller coaster type thing. It was like, yeah, I don't remember being on a ship. I just remember kind of getting there and flying. And then once I was there, it's so amazing. Wow. That was so cool to feel.
Well, I love that you had that experience. I also love that when because that was your very first quantum session, and you know, lots of people just assume, oh, I kind of believe the stuff from the other session, so I must be able to just, you know, recite that nonsense out and try to convince Joe it was legit experience. But the reality is you had different information that still is the same information that you experienced. There was not a, oh, hang on, what am I going to create now? It just all flowed through you, and it just was all, you know, that's the, you know, your personal experience gave you confirmation for you that wasn't the same as anyone else's and was unique to you. And that is the proof that everyone gets from these sessions. And some people still want to doubt it because it's too fucking scary to even consider any of this nonsense. And with much respect, yeah, there's inner work for you there. You know, and that is fine. But when we go into these sessions with what we know in our hearts is, you know, doubt or confusion or even, the whole range of emotions that is quite normal. And then you leave these sessions and you've had a profound emotional experience that you've been questioning how it would all unfold. And like for all these months, when you started listening to these sessions, you were like, well, how is it going to work for me? How is it going to look for me? And in one profound session of less than 2 hours, you get all of that experience with details that's unique and specific to you. I don't think we've talked about the grid workers being taken and going first. They need to be taken off this planet first to be able to help Gaia release, because we're holding her safely from the density, otherwise she would collapse within herself energetically. So the grid workers need to be removed so then Gaia can be removed. And then they go and then they are doing their own grid work on the new earth, because that is their specialty that they can do. So it is, there's lots of information that is small details that is consistent through these private sessions that you wouldn't have known about.
Wow, that is so cool to hear. Oh, and Joe, how interesting was it that I was like a shapeshifter there? Like I said, I was appearing a certain way so that the humans would not be, wouldn't react in a way that I didn't want them to, or to be scared, if you will, until they acclimated, and then I could show them my real self. That really made me wonder.
I think everyone can on the new earth. They just don't know that they can, or they don't want to, or they can't, like it's all about intention, setting the intentions and accepting it. So you are obviously more very comfortable being on the new earth. When you get there, you can be your complete self because you've remembered more who you are. And so you really enjoy that frequency and that comfortability of just, I want to make a joke about maybe you just wear your fat pants every day, it's not about clothes, but then when the humans come, and they are very firmly in their illusion of their physical bodies, even though they have lost their physical bodies, but they want to see themselves with their physical bodies. They want to be very normal. And the only giveaway that they notice about their changes is that they look freaking good. They have gone to a really comfortable age. So don't be surprised if your parents look younger than you, because they've gone and they've reverted themselves to the most comfortable illusion of their physical bodies that they're good with. And so lots of my clients, they see their parents, they're like, God, Dad looks so good. He's got hair and he doesn't have a pot belly. And Mum, oh my gosh, he looks happy. Like people revert back into what there's the most, so they naturally are doing it too. And showing the world who they are, their best versions of themselves. And so everyone can do that. But as they're getting their legs, their new earth legs, shall we say, and getting comfortable in this environment, then they can eventually let go of the humanoid figuring and be able to do something else with it. And, but they will, it's comfortable for them to still feel and look similar to what they were originally. But some advanced beings will just see them and their energy fields as sort of like a bigger light body. So it just depends on where you're at. And there is, lots of different ranges of where people will be at. And, you will be really sensitive to knowing what people need from you to see from you. And you will give them and you will show them that, not because the full essence of your light body is scary, but it is just different. And we don't like difference. We don't like differences. We like everything as normal, status quo. Thank you. And that will fade over time.
Yeah. I also found it really interesting that I learned that Arcturians and archangels are the same thing. I did not know that before.
Just labels. But the Arcturians have been helping assist humanity for a long, long, long time. And so the humanoid project, the experiment with the bodies and the experiences of the 3D density life contracts on this planet were part of the Palladians, and this was their project for the humanoids, for the humans, the original soul essences here on Earth. So they are the creators of this, but supporting those are the Arcturians. And so the Arcturians were really the guides for a lot of the Palladians, plus other Palladians that were here observing and helping. And so, yes, the Arcturians have been, and the Palladians have been helping humanity for a long time, because a lot of their soul families are here experiencing this earth. So this is why they seem to be predominant. Plus, a whole lot of other collectives that don't give a fuck what we call them. And so, they're like, ugh, whatever. Yeah, sure, Palladian. Okay, yeah, that sounds cute for you guys. That's not scary for you. And so, us and our labels, and they kind of just, it doesn't matter. They don't want us to keep being addicted to more labels and definitions of who they are and how tall they are and what's their favorite hobbies.
Yeah, for me, it really, everything just clicked too. And especially, like, for example, I can compare artwork that I did before my walk-in and after of my guide, I guess, Gabriel. And one of them looks like classic angel, huge angel passing. I sent you the picture. It's like passing a orb of light to a human. And then one that I did after is one where it's me and I'm like palm to palm with a more typical, what you would think of as an alien looking creature. So my perspective before and after the walk-in is it's just really cool to think that how much your perception can change, and how, when your reference points are just from religious, texts and things, it's what you see, or it's what they show you. So it's familiar, but I think I'm starting to understand that whole not labeling and kind of shapeshifter type, that whole deal. It's really cool.
So, as we can shapeshift on the new earth, so can the archangels and the Arcturians who need to present themselves to people here. So, they look all, super skinny, gorgeous, with, big wings to identify that they are, angels, and they show us what we need to see. And so that's why, we've asked Archangel Michael, what the heck do you really look like? Do you spend most of your time supporting humanity at the gym? Because it looks like it from sorry. But however it's been depicted in images, and as we know, depending on the culture and the regions of where there has been artworks of Jesus, he looks like, he could be cousins to himself. And it is what people are comfortable to see. We want them to look like us as much because we want them to be relatable to us, because we want them to see us and love us and support us and be part of it. And, the artwork throughout time, is very symbolic, but also very subjective to what it needs. Just like with Buddha, he also gets, a complete makeover every country that he has, been depicted. And, we understand that. So doesn't mean that those representations of the Buddha or Jesus were wrong. It is how the artist was perceiving that information. And that is
Mhm.
important. And therefore, we can't judge artists' work because it is what divinely was given to them to be able to represent to their audience the energy and the connection of these important beings for humanity. So, you know, shape-shifting has been made into, only the bad kids get that, and
Mhm.
mean and horrible, and obviously monsters under your bed. But when you become spiritually mature and understand that we are protected from all of that, unless we want to feel like we're complete victims and vulnerable to everything nasty, then yes, we will open up our minds and our hearts and our energy fields to everything nasty, because we're asking for it, because we believe we're going to be attacked by them. So we're opening up and we're waiting for that attack. And what happens when we create being attacked? We're waiting, and we will draw in those to attack us, to fulfill our needs and requirements that we are putting on ourselves. So what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for people to come into our lives to love us, support us, and nurture us? Or are we still thinking that if we share our beliefs and thoughts to others, we will be attacked, and therefore we will not, we will not share anything, because we are waiting for people to attack us? Even though when we share new information, there is reactions because people are still in the 3D, we understand that their reactions to being triggered from us is a beautiful opportunity for them to grow. Are we responsible to help them grow? No. If you just trigger someone, that is a seed for them to fester over it, be all in outraged and triggered by your audacity to say love yourself. And then they will be irked enough with it that their frustration of, how dare she say to me on Facebook today and yesterday, love myself? Who does she think she is? Love myself, love myself, love myself. How dare she? And because that person will keep thinking of that audacity of love ourselves, they would just keep thinking about it and thinking about it, and somehow they will manifest in loving themselves. They will resist it, be angry with it, try all the reasons and excuses why they shouldn't love themselves. But what they're actually doing, unbeknownst to you, is actually working through their inner blocks and inner work. And it's ugly for them, and you don't need to see it, and you don't need to support it through it. You were the part of the catalyst of the key of triggering them to be able to start thinking about it. And we want people to start thinking. They have forgotten to think. They got a bit sleepy and lazy with that. So this is fantastic to make people think.
Yes. Yeah. I've of course always had a really hard time sharing my story because of it being such a controversial type thing to, with it being a child, everyone, it was just another soul. We're all just souls and bodies, and we all are here to learn. And my session it really helped so much for me to see the whole big picture of it. And I loved what you said so much about him taking back his experience, because like we can all do that. We can all love other people who we think might have a different agenda, or who we can see their intentions clearly, but that's okay. That's their journey, and we can still love them so much, and we can still give them every opportunity to make the right choice, or the the to turn over a new leaf, or to, even if they don't, even if it's just you loving somebody when they're being who they are, and you don't know what impact it's going to make, it will make an impact. And it's the same with loving yourself. It really is the greatest love of all. And I mean, I spent a long time looking for that true love that all the Disney movies show us. And that's the reason for my life. I need to find my true love. And, all along, my true love was myself and my family and the ones who need me the most. That's true love, and we can give that to all of the collectives and not judge them, because I mean, they're here for a reason, and a lot of them, they're here to learn. And my son, and he's here to learn what unconditional love is, and what if you could be somebody's unconditional love too. We can all make a difference.
Any
And
any loving act does not go wasted. Like
yeah,
even if they can't feel it because they don't love themselves enough to accept it, you've still you've put that seed in there, you have put that energy there, and when they are able to accept it or see it, then they will get it. And the more that you love others, the more you can love yourself, because your intentions and agenda is wonderful. You know that the subconscious is watching, that his collectives are watching and receiving that. And so many people in the light worker community and spirituality community want to shun other collectives that have a darker agenda or a different agenda, and that is really arrogant and really missing the whole point, because we are supposed to be neutral and loving all, even though we don't accept bad behavior and we don't like bad behavior truly. We're not trying to condone it or justify it, but we can still have those reservations and still love the soul that's needing to have this experience, and still be able to see why and what the bigger perspective is. And we know that most of the species who are here, all the collectives that are here, they do all truly want to now at this point evolve. It may not be as fast as humanity evolving into the fifth dimension, but they're on their stepping stones. They're on their way. It is a slower path. It's a different path, but it is still one that we can support. That's literally the reason why we have come here, to help. But when those people get super fixated on a special, collective that's obviously just pure evil, well, then you're completely missing the point, and you're just as judgmental as that, really. And we've all been guilty of it. When I first started hearing about the reptilians, I thought, oh God, monsters, and oh, I'm a victim to it, and oh, this is horrible. And and you have to find that neutrality and understand what's going on. And the thing is, when you are in that judgment, when you're in that anger, when you're in that really negative energy space that you're pumping out because you are thinking you're better knowing than everyone, and having that division, how is that the solution? Because isn't that just literally feeding into that bullshit anyway?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you're feeding the side of them that they're not supposed to feed. I mean, they need you to feed the love. They don't. Yeah, I like the way you said it. That was perfect.
I know when people haven't got to this point yet, they're like, oh, she's a reptilian sympathizer, she's the devil. And I just go, well, no, because that you have to see things from the biggest perspective. If Gaia can love all her children, can't we?
Yeah, we really can. And there is a little spark of good, I think, in everyone. I think we all know that. And I think instead of looking so hard for how everybody's wrong, and how, trying so hard to get credit for everything too, that's the other thing that I've found change in me since this walk in, is like, I just wanted credit so bad. Doesn't anyone see this? Like, look at everything I'm doing. Look at this life. Look at this. And then, finally you realize, like, you don't need credit. You don't need someone else to tell you how good you are. You can tell yourself. You have a whole team that wants to tell you, and I think if we start looking for the good in everyone, regardless of their agenda or their appearance or whatever it might be, that would be such an awesome thing to do.
Absolutely. A lot of people use materialism as a credit, as a recognition. Look at my fancy career, look at my fancy car, blah, 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 blah. Like, we are so seeking approval from others that we will get the latest gadgets to think that we are ahead of ahead of it. And reality is that's definitely not what we're here for. We can play the 3D game, but we must know the difference between what we're here for. Oh, and Kitty, what they said about, I mean, it felt brutal when they said it. You're not here to make friends.
Yes.
God, can't she have some friends? But like it.
Nope.
But what I felt after feeling into that was, I mean, yes, you're allowed to have friends, obviously, but what is important right now for us? I mean, yes, we can find friends, but what we're really doing is we're finding our families, our soul families, and that's not, always birth, and they're not always in our physical lives, and we can love our 3D friends, but as we know, they're very hard to connect with, especially when we've already made so many stepping stones in a different direction from their perspective. So we're not in that fear-based worry, which they still love and bathe in regularly, but we can still love them, and we can still identify what their problems are, but not buy into their reactions as a personal problem with us, because we know exactly where they're at. So it's incredible times. It is definitely incredible times. The in terms of the timeline and how everything is going to, sometimes the sessions feel like, geez, it's tomorrow, and other sessions feel like, okay, we've got a few months. That's manageable. I can get in some Christmas shopping, and the reality is we can't control it when it happens. We've always been told we will never be truly prepared when it does happen. And so, stop focusing on that day event, stop focusing on the details of it truly, because that's taking you away from today. Today is a gift. The people that come into your life are gifts. You are either their gift or they're your gift to you. Humanity needs love. You need love, and you know how to be able to empower yourselves to be that love for all, and for it to not drain you. Our 3D friends seem to drain us because they're so starving for love and attention, and sometimes they're so addicted to the negative density and the worry and the fear. It's challenging to support them and without getting dragged into that frustration and density too.
It is. It's super challenging, but as long as we just try to observe it through a higher perspective. And I really, after seeing, like, just to give everybody hope, after seeing what I saw, there's nothing to be afraid of. And yeah, I agree with you. Let's not focus on when, because we're not there yet. We're still right here. And, we just need to get as much joy out of how things are right now, because they will change really soon, but it will be okay.
I feel like when people are just focusing on the event, they're missing out on being of service. I've seen that with a lot of people who have accepted this information, know about the shift, looking forward to their new lives, and getting really angry that we're not there yet. And they're really frustrated and really impatient. And again, that lowers their vibration, and then they have the audacity to complain. And it's like, what are you doing every day to get us closer to that? What are you doing every day to help others be able to find their keys that can unlock them, to be able to help them release and learn how to self-love and all this stuff? And I can feel into people's energy, and I can feel what they are doing, if they're holding back or not. And everyone, with much love, I say this, everyone can do a bit better. And it's not saying that you're not doing enough or you're not being enough, but there's always room for improvement. And I don't want to put any extra pressure on anyone, but I also feel like our teams have been trying to push us as fast as we could go to then be of profound service. And if this is what we've signed up for, if this is literally the purpose that we're here now to be of service, we really need to step up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my friend, I've got to get out of my pajamas and start doing lunches for preschool. Is there any other information that you wanted to share with people about your session, or any thoughts and theories? Can you give us the answers to the universe now while we listen?
I wish. No, I definitely would like to do another session at some point, because I do have more questions about things, but really the message I think has been come across really well, just about, making sure with the medical decisions that we put ourselves in the same position we would put our child, and, using your discernment when you're taking in social media or media of any sort, or any entertainment, just like you said, being aware of our vibrations and trying to just keep the higher perspective, and knowing that, this is really an exciting time, and just keep looking around at what you have right now and your family, and loving them so much, because this is the thing we've came here for, and we can do this. We can totally do this. We just have to, come together, and we'll be okay.
Absolutely. The best thing about giving love is that it's free. It actually makes us feel good. It doesn't matter what we look like, what our lives are like, what we've done in the past. Love and genuinely loving others. We may not have the answers to what their problems are, but we can love the crap out of them regardless of whatever they're going through. And I think that is always going to be the best answer when people are freaking out in fear. It may not be as simple as, "Ah, I love you."
Yeah.
That's not going to be the true answer, magical answer. But for our friends and family to feel our love for them, and that we are there with them and we can support them, it's really listening to them and loving them, being there for them, not dismissing any of their feelings, because remember, they're supposed to feel all of this to be able to release it and overcome it. We can't avoid, we can't block, we can't protect them from feeling these emotions, which potentially they have been bottled up for many different lifetimes that they need to purge out. And so you have to respect their process of releasing.
Yes, exactly. And don't numb yourself, please, because I did it and it did not help. It helps so much more to feel it and then release it. It's so much better than numbing yourself. That's my hugest message, is like, it may be, you may think it's just something to help you escape every once in a while, whatever. But if you feel like you need to escape from something, then face it, because that's the thing you need to look at.
Once you do certain inner work, overcoming certain hurdles, then it's done and dusted. When you're trying to block it and distract it and not face it, it's always there. It never leaves you. Like your emotional cupboard of trauma that you're holding needs to be fully opened and decluttered. And when you start doing your inner work and releasing and healing the things from the past, you actually realize how simple it is to let it go and to acknowledge, oh, that was a really hard time in my life, seeing it from the bigger, find those lessons of why would you have been exposed to certain really big challenges in your life? What was the lessons there? Feel excited about reminding yourself of what you've actually overcome. You've survived. You've survived everything that has ever happened to you in this lifetime. Aren't you curious of why you were going through all of those things? Because the more you understand what you've come through and survived and overcome, the more in love you're going to be with yourself, the more proud you are going to be of yourself, the more with utter recklessness, the jazz handsing you will do every day moving forward, realizing you are so protected and you have learned massive things about yourself. And, feel proud of that. Own that. Don't be embarrassed of what you've experienced. Use that as empowerment.
Brilliant. Yep. Agree.
Okay, I love you. Bye, everybody.
Love you. Bye.